Hey guys, today I'm talking about ticks, and specifically ticks in your yard. I'm going to show you 3 simple ways to keep ticks out of your yard. You'll never see one. I'm completely surrounded by forest. As you can see, my property's landscaped, but the surrounding properties go on for acres and acres of heavily infested tick areas. So I haven't seen any on my pets in years, and I haven't found any ticks on me after working all day in the garden. So take a look at this video. It's really simple to do. As you can see, I've got a little helper headed towards me in the garden, and he has not had a tick on him in many, many years. So guys, before we get started, I just want to remind you about the Patreon. If you're a member over there, you can print out a copy of this. It contains a lot of added information for this tick control method. So I'm going to give you the majority of the information here, but if you want to read on and add extra information about getting ticks out of the yard, take a look at that. If you're a member, like I said, it's no charge, or you can buy it outright just for a few dollars. So let's get started on this super simple recipe where you'll never see another tick in your yard. So guys, this is a 2-part system that you're going to use to get ticks away from you and your family. The first part is going to be about getting rid of ticks out of the yard, and the second part is going to be about creating a very specialized spray that will work every time. It's non-toxic, it's safe on children and adults. Do not use it on cats because they will metabolize this in a different way. It is said to be safe on dogs, but I would check with the vet first and ask him, as your dog may have health problems or something like that. So check with your vet and tell him exactly what you're asking to put on your dog before you do it. I always recommend that because I don't want anybody's pet to be harmed. But remember, once again, this is not for cat use, so you can't use this on cats. So guys, the primary product we're using is cedar mulch. Now, this is not treated in any way. It's not colored. It's just plain cedar mulch. So you need to remember, when you go to pick this up at your hardware store, make sure that it's not colored, no additives to it. It's just a plain ordinary mulch. Now, you can buy cedar products at pet stores, but I would just recommend going to your hardware store and getting this. It was like $5 for this very large bag, and this would last all summer long for the part where we're going to make something out of the cedar mulch. But as far as the second part, something else you do with the cedar mulch, I'll give you some advice on that as well. So this is one of the key products, the key ingredient that's going to make this work. Cedar is very toxic to ticks, and a specific chemical in there I'll put on the screen right here is toxic to ticks. So it'll keep them off of you, your children, your family. And another way we're going to use it to keep it completely out of the yard. Like I said, I haven't seen a tick anywhere in my yard in several years. So just a quick note about the cedar mulch and the oils that it contains. There was a 2022 study done by the USDA that reported that the oils contained in the mulch and in the cedar itself is a repellent to ticks and also is a killing agent for ticks. So it does double duty. Not only does it keep ticks away, but once the ticks come in contact with this product, it's going to kill them as well. So not only is this opinion, it's actually been studied by the government and also private industries. A lot of products you can buy online actually contain cedar oils. I'll put a link in the description. If you don't want to go through this entire process, you can just buy some outright. But this is a lot more expensive. It's going to be close to $30 to $35 to purchase online. To do this method, you're talking about $5, and you can reuse this mulch throughout the summer. Make this product once a month, and it will last for a solid month before you need to reapply. So let's get started on putting this super simple recipe together. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure out 4 cups of the cedar mulch, and the smell of this is incredible. It really has an aromatic smell. It's really, to humans, it's really an attractive smell. So as I said earlier, we're going to use 4 cups. Now, you can double this up and make it 8. Then this is per gallon of water. So we're using 4 solid cups of this mulch. And if you have a terrible tick infestation, depending on what part of the country you live in, you can double this. But as for me, I only need about 4 cups per gallon to be effective. And we're going to apply it in a very specific method too. Now, even though I've got such an oversized container here, this steel pot, you only need 1 gallon. So you don't need something quite this large. But I just happen to have this around the greenhouse. I use this for a lot of different recipes. So we're using 1 gallon of water to our 4 cups of cedar shredded bark trees, whatever they've shredded it with. And the smell is already incredible. That is what makes this so powerful, is this just the natural product we're going to use. Now, the stove I'm using, I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this, but these are just common camping stoves. Some people use them in emergencies, but this one looks really nice. I got it specifically ordered from Korea. But if you don't have one of these stoves and you want to put this together in your potting shed, in your greenhouse, I'll put a link in the description as well, because I'm always working on some kind of recipe that might require me to heat up some water, and I don't have a stove or anything like that inside of my potting shed or the greenhouse. So these are really handy. This is called Dr. Howell's, but there's a lot of different brands. I just happen to like the looks of this one. So we're going to start this to a boil. It doesn't have to be a rolling boil, but we're going to simmer it for a while too, and I'll tell you the lengths of time and every way to do that. I'm going to light this, and then we'll move on to that process. Now the second ingredient we're going to be adding to our pot is Castile soap. We're going to add 1 teaspoon, but we're not adding it now at the beginning when we start the boiling process. We're going to wait till it cools down. But the reason we have this Castile soap is going to be kind of a sticking agent. It's going to help it stick to leaves and limbs and things, shrubs, things like that. This is very safe on plants. We don't have to worry about it harming the plant. So we're going to start by doing a gentle boil. We're going to let it simmer for about 1 hour, and then let it cool down and just kind of marinate those juices in there for another hour. So wait till it's cooled down before you add this, and this is going to be the sticking agent. Now you don't even have to add it to this. You can, once you're removing it from the pot, you can put the sticking agent in this before you add the warm water. So just either way you want to do it, but this is a very important component of the recipe, because we want this formula, we want the product that's in the chemical that's in the cedar, we want it to stick to anything that it's sprayed on, because ticks, they like to kind of climb up and they can fall onto animals as they walk by. Once you brush up against a brush or a limb or anything like that in the forest, they'll stick to you, and then they'll climb their way up on your body, and you'll find them sometimes just on the inside of your thigh out of nowhere. You don't even know how it got there, but it is from brushing up against shrubs and limbs and things like that. So the sticking agent is very important, and when you do spray it, make sure you're coating it very well and go around the edges of your property and anywhere you have a tick problem on your entire area. It will go a long way, especially in one of these sprays, because you're not limited to 1 gallon. You can quadruple it and do something like this in a 4-gallon sprayer. You'll be able to spray a huge area. Now while I'm letting this come to a boil, I want to talk just for a minute about how to add extra potency to it. You can let this steep overnight, anywhere from 12 to 24 hours, and that can leach even more of these essential oils out of our cedar. So just remember, if you can be patient enough to wait till the next day to use it, you'll have an even stronger spray, and it will even be more effective. So just remember that steeping method, adding an additional 24 hours, just letting it cool in the pot, and continue to leach those oils out even before you add the Castile soap. You don't have to worry about that yet. We're just trying to remove as much as we can of those oils. Now there is a way, and it's extremely expensive, to distill out of this product. You can buy a professional distiller from Amazon, or you can get one sometimes used at places that make alcohol, like beer making places. But as for me, this is the cheapest way to go, and you will get good results with it. I do this once a month during tick season, and I don't have any problems. I haven't seen a tick on myself or my pets in many, many years since I started doing this. And it only takes about 3 times per summer. You're not doing this every single week. You're going to do it early summer, midsummer, and late summer. And so that's, once the cool weather comes in, I don't have to worry about ticks anymore. Just remember that steeping method can add even more potency. But once you get through with that, remember you need to use it within 72 hours, because it starts to lose some of its potency over time. Now I've allowed it to simmer for a solid 60 minutes. I'm going to cut our stove off there. And now I'm going to just let it steep in this pot overnight, come back tomorrow, and then we'll extract it and put it into our next container. But there's a very specific method for getting it from the pot to your spraying device. Now I want to be really careful here in pouring this. I don't want to make a giant mess, but we don't have to worry so much about getting, wow, the odor of this is just incredible. I love the smell of cedar. We're going to carefully reintroduce this back to our gallon container. Now the smell, like I said, is just the smell. If you've ever smelt a cedar chest, or you've been around cedar closets, you will love this smell. But absolutely, this is something that ticks absolutely hate. It repels them, and the oils that contain in there, the name of that particular chemical is toxic to ticks. Now there's just a note about applying to this your yard. If you live in a smaller size lot, such as a patio home or a very, very small area that you need to spray, you can use something like this, one of these solo sprayers, and you can go around the edges. But with me, I've got 2 acres and I have a lot of area to spray. So these 20-volt backpack sprayers really work well, because I can triple or actually quadruple the formula here and have 4 solid gallons of this product. Now sadly, the Black & Decker sprayer, the 20-volt sprayer, I cannot find it. I don't believe it's made anymore. Now, these Chapin sprayers, they are still made. I'll put a link in the description. One reason I really like the Black & Decker sprayer is I have tons of Black & Decker batteries. I must have like 10 different batteries, so I can use this anytime. But generally a battery will last all day, but just having a fresh battery to go in it means I can go all over the entire yard and I don't have to worry about running out of power. But again, if you're just doing a small area, you can use something like that. They even make these in the hand pump as you're going. It's just your arm gets tired after a while. So I would recommend getting a nice 20-volt system. Some of them take Black & Decker batteries and some of them take other brands. So I'll put a link to them in the description. Now, these small type sprayers are excellent for spraying your clothing. Depending on how long you're going to be working in the garden, you may just want to treat your clothes early in the morning before you go out, including your shoes, and just douse them and allow them to dry a little bit. Don't put them in the dryer, allow it to dry naturally, and the smell of that cedar will be all in your clothes and it will act as a natural tick repellent. Another thing I'm going to talk about in part 2 is actually the repellent that's going to go in your skin, but it's a little bit different formula than the overall spray we're going to be spraying on the garden and the trees, the shrubs and things like that. I'm going to put a list of places that you want to concentrate this spray on, and one thing to remember is concentrate 3 to 4 feet into the air, because the ticks are going to be climbing from the ground up to about the 3 to 4 foot level. So generally that's where the majority of ticks are going to be. Now we want to separate our wood chips from our oils and everything that's in the water there. So you want to take something like this strainer right here and then put a towel on top of it to make sure that you get all of the debris and you don't actually accidentally get any of the wood chips into your sprayer, because if it goes into the pump, it could be a really big mess. So see, you can see that the t-shirt is helping strain out quite a bit of even the smallest particles. We continue to pour that there. And wow, it is a very strong smell of cedar. Now I did do a little bit of reheating before I did this because I wanted to make sure that the formula was really concentrated. So I reheated it for about 5 minutes to give it a little bit more heat to the water to make sure that it's going to be nice and hot and separate from the wood chips very easily. I'm just going to make sure I get everything I can out of there. And now we have a perfectly strained mix, and the smell of cedar is just overpowering there. And this is what's going to help us. As I said before, if you're using a large backpack sprayer, just quadruple the recipe and then you can cover a much larger area. Now I would recommend not diluting this very much. If you're going to dilute it, I wouldn't dilute it. Maybe we've got 1 gallon here. I would only dilute it 1 to 1. In other words, 1 gallon of water and 1 gallon of our concentrate here, because the more you dilute it, the less effective it's going to be. If you can put it out in its full strength, make 4 batches if you have a large area to cover, it's going to work a lot better. So just remember, we don't want dilution in this. We want the ticks to be repelled as much as possible and kill any of the ones that are already on those leaves and shrubs everywhere we spray the first time. Now we've talked about the yard application. Now we're going to talk about our personal spray. Now I would recommend getting these little glass bottles. They're tinted and they're going to prevent the spray from going bad. If you're going on a camping trip, you don't want to use a clear bottle because it will lose its potency much quicker. So what we've done is we've taken 1 cup of our spray there, and then we've added another cup of distilled water, and then you have the option of either vodka or witch hazel. A lot of people don't use vodka, but witch hazel is just as good. You're going to use 1 tablespoon of that. You're going to add it to our mix here. I think I said tablespoon, I meant to say teaspoon. We're going to add that to our formula. And you can add a little bit of vegetable glycerin if you want to, and that'll help it feel less dry on your skin. We're going to carefully add that back to our spray bottle. And this is ideal for camping and hiking because you can keep this with you. It'll last for quite a while. And I'll put a link in the description to these very small bottles. But now that we've strained all of the larger particles, we don't have to worry about our little tiny pump here getting clogged up. So what we want to do is we want to carry this with us on a hiking or camping trip. And the smell is it's just absolutely incredible. Now you can spray this directly on your skin, but do a skin test first. Put it in a small area and then wait 24 hours to make sure that you don't have any allergic reaction. What might bother one person won't even affect another person. So again, do that little skin patch test first, and also do that on children. Just do a very small area and wait 24 hours to make sure there's not a reaction to it. Most people don't react to cedar oils, but there's always that chance. I just want to tell you that up front. This was ideal for my camping trips and my hiking trips. It's really easy to use. I can just slip it in my backpack. Now, when you're storing this, I'd say you could store it up to 14 days. Beyond that, it could start to lose potency. Put it in the fridge also when you're not using it, and it feels better when you spray it on you when it's in a cold state. So that's our small bottle that we can use. We've talked about the larger sprayers for our yard, and even a sprayer like this to spray down your clothes. Also, on your camping and hiking trips, make sure that you remember if you wash your clothes, you'll need to reapply this because the cedar oil will get washed out in the wash. Now, there's another trick you can do if you're planning on going camping or hiking and you have a specific set of clothes you're going to use. Instead of using washing powder, you can wash them normally as you do the first time, but then put the clothes back into your washer, and then the concentrate that we made, the full 1 gallon, add it to your washing machine to wash your clothes in that, so that your clothes have that cedar smell embedded in them. And don't put them in the dryer, let them hang dry naturally. So if you have a specific set of clothes you like wearing camping and hiking or gardening, either way, the clothes will definitely have a much stronger cedar smell into it. So allowing to line dry, that's going to work even better. Once you put them in the dryer, it can really dehydrate the smell and it won't be quite as strong. It's still there because I've done it both ways, but I found that hanging them up in the garage and putting them in front of a fan and just allowing them to dry naturally worked much better. I could actually smell the smell in my gardening clothes and my hiking and camping clothes. Now, there's another trick that I've developed that you can use a leaf blower in conjunction with your backpack sprayer. You start your leaf blower, whether electric or gas, and then you tape the wand to whatever type of sprayer that you have. Especially if you got one of these 4-gallon models, you can just strap it on your back and then walk around, and then as you're spraying it, the leaf blower will disperse it even better, even higher up, much higher in the trees, 12, 14, 15 feet up. So if you want a massive treatment done, use a leaf blower attached to your backpack sprayer, and then that way it will give you a much better coverage. A lot of professional companies have these machines that combine a backpack sprayer and a blower, and they're quite expensive. We're talking about $700, $800, $900, even over $1,000 depending on the brand. So if you already have a leaf blower and you do decide to get a backpack sprayer, combine the two together and it will make a huge difference in your coverage area. You could do an entire yard very quickly just by walking back and forth with the power of a leaf blower. Now, one more cautionary note about using something like this. Make sure that the wind is blowing away from you and not towards you, so you're not breathing this in, because the cedar oil could irritate your sinuses and your lungs. So use a bit of precaution there. If you have a really high quality filtration mask, you could use that, but I would just recommend carefully observing what direction the wind's blowing so you can make sure that the mist is blowing away from you and you can cover a much larger area, and make sure that no neighbors or pets are anywhere close by, because you don't want this drifting around pets, children, or other people while it's floating around in the air. So guys, if you want to download this 9-page booklet that goes into a lot more detail, gives a little bit more scientific information in there, take a look at that in the Patreon. If you're a member, you can automatically get it for free if you're a paid member, or if you just want to pay for it outright, you can do that as well. I think it's $4 or $5. There's a minimum that Patreon allows me to charge. Otherwise, I'd probably just do it for $1, but they won't let you do that. So anyways, guys, I really appreciate you watching. If you have any questions or comments, please become a public subscriber on YouTube first so I can put that question to the front of the line. I get hundreds of questions every week and it's hard to keep track of everything. So guys, I really appreciate it. At the very least, if you just give me a thumbs up if you like the video, that means a lot to me as well. So guys, have a great day.